autumn wind is a league, holding the treasures ye may seek. Have some fun and play along, whether for a day or for a week. Seek advice from a sage, or battle straight up. Square off in a cage, or joust without a cup. It's a FanDuel. Is it your favorite you take, or make the logical play? Will your foes stand before you and quiver and quake, as you will be crowned prince for a day? The autumn wind may be a casual player, FanDueling just to talk trash. But there will be those that will play, that will be able to say, I've got my hands on some cold, hard cash.
Hello and welcome to the Box Scores FanDuel Draft Day. I'm Brock here in Los Angeles from our very own Red Zone set. They are the Danettes in Milford, ready to draft their squads for week one of this year's DanDuel Fantasy Football Challenge. Now, see, we know McLovin considers himself the favorite here, but are there any concerns he'll resort to shenanigans to get ahead? Because we found some footage in our archives that might indicate that he would be up to something like some espionage or subterfuge here. Are you considering maybe putting up a wall or changing passcodes on your computer?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't say there's concerns about it. There's actual plans in place for when McLovin does try some type of subterfuge, as we like to say.
FanDuel Spygate?
Oh, definitely.
But I gotta tell you, and don't take this personally, Seton, I'm copying this guy next to me. He's the fantasy
He's
ninja.
been a little uptight lately.
Yeah.
We had a little discussion.
I
He's
definitely.
a little nervous about all the.
Like he was. First of all, we're all like grinding all week long. He hasn't said a word. He's just quietly sat there doing his lineup.
But that's tied, though. That's tied around like March Madness time.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be like sneaky or like, you can't cheat on my paper. I'm doing my thing, and I think you guys, and you in particular, because you have that pressure of being the NFL insider, the NFL guru, that you're expected to win, if not every week, most weeks. So I think you're feeling the extra pressure.
What's best about this is, Fritzy, you can go to a website that has fantasy in it, and it's not going to lock up your computer.
That's cool. Which is a nice thing. I like to go back and forth though between my picks and the questionable sites. But you're right. This is a safe fantasy.
Well, McLovin, I'm guessing this isn't your first rodeo. Do you remember your first fantasy football experience? How'd it go?
Wow, I don't remember my first league, but this is how long I've been playing. I remember I got Randy Moss as a rookie in '98 and won my league. I was really young then, and I was like, this fantasy football thing, I got to figure it out. I think that might be the last league I've won. Because, I've been in a lot of big money leagues.
Yeah.
And it's hard to come in first place.
The first year I think I did it was at Pro Football Weekly. My first year out of college, I worked at Pro Football Weekly, and I was there about 2 weeks. And they said, we're going to do a fantasy football draft and write about it. And there's a bunch of guys in a room, and they bought pizza and they bought beer for us. So, this job is really, really good. And I remember some guy drafted Alonzo Highsmith, who had just retired, and man, did he get crushed. I mean, I remember this guy's name. I remember going, it was late round. He's like, I need a running back. I'm going to go Alonzo Highsmith of the Oilers. Everyone's like, dude, he retired. He's injured. And he just got lit up, and then it was in the magazine a couple days later.
Yeah, my first league was like 2000, maybe 2001, somewhere around there. And the only decent player I had was the Chiefs running back Priest Holmes, and he got hurt halfway through the year. And then, I was trying to figure out trading with other people. Nobody wanted any of my players.
Oh, no one ever wants to trade.
Because it was terrible. Yeah. I think halfway through it, I got caught in an auto draft kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it soured me for a long time on it because I was like, wow, this season sucks. I'm already done.
And you're picking certain guys that you start one week, and then it always at least for me, I got first place one year. The next year I went from first place directly to last place, and I'd see that the guy that didn't play well one week, I'm like, okay, he stinks, and I put him down. And then that next week,
Right.
So if I would have been patient and let him play one more week, every time I changed it, the other one, the reserve, would end up having the huge.
And Brock, fantasy football is so big on bragging rights. You brag with your friends for years if you beat them. I used to play with a bunch of guys from high school, and I think it was '96. Lawrence Phillips was a rookie running back for the Rams. Game one, he had 106 and 2 touchdowns, and I had him. I got him in the draft, and I traded him the next week for Vinny Testaverde straight up. Testaverde had a career year, and Lawrence Phillips ended the season on the bench, and now he's in jail. So my friend who I traded with, I still email him notes about Lawrence Phillips, like, hey, Lawrence Phillips is in jail again. Remember when you traded me Vinny Testaverde for him? He's like, yes, I remember.
Mean-spirited.
Sometimes it's all about the smack talk. Now, well, for those who don't know how this works, here are the rules. It's the league that will feature Dan and all 4 Danettes. They'll draft their teams weekly right here on the box score. You have to choose a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, a defense, and a kicker with the allotted budget of $60,000. That's just pretend money, so don't worry about that. You don't need to come up with that. It's a rotisserie league, so the person with the most points at the end of the week comes out on top. Now, Paulie, that was the first time you were in a league. Do you remember the last time you were in a fantasy football league?
Yeah, it's been a while because, and I'm not just trying to say it because it's FanDuel. I got really, depressed after the draft. I would do a draft. I think last time was 2004. And maybe since then, maybe once or twice, but I would do the draft and that would suck. My team would be awful, and I get kind of discouraged as the season went along, and I would tap out a little bit. So I think 2004 was the last time I did that. I may have done it a few years ago for this show and just tapped out halfway through the season.
Now, Seton, the boss, is involved here. How much do you think his football night in America experience will help him here?
Man, Dan is the real wild card here because he hasn't been much, he hasn't done a lot of fantasy sports recently.
But back in the day.
Back in the day, though, he was all about it.
Yeah. I think he's got some skills.
He does.
He's hanging out with Florio and King and the whole gang there, and they're, who knows what they're talking about before the.
He's like
cameras
over
are
dinner with all of these experts, being like, so anyway, what do you guys think?
And he remembers everything. He's taking mental notes and changing his roster in his head while they're having steak dinner or something.
I'm probably most curious to see how he finishes in all this week to week.
How about you, Fritzy? You've been known to have your share of computer issues in the past. Were you able to set up your account?
I was. I probably sent one too many emails to someone at FanDuel because as I do with everything else, I make it more complicated. It's actually very simple, but someone like me that's technically challenged, was overthinking it, and then I realized, it's a little ridiculous. That it's
actually really easy.
It's super easy to do, and trust me, if I can do it, it's very self-explanatory, and you're literally a couple of clicks away from being up in.
I hesitate to bring this up, but did you ask our friend over at FanDuel for any advice on picking strategy? It's a yes/no question.
I may have asked a few questions.
So is may have yes or is that no?
I'll say yes to that.
Now, does that seem like insider access, asking an expert?
Well,
okay.
But it was more technical, like how do I log in and
that more gamesmanship?
Things like that. But I did want to try to pick his brain a little bit, and he seemed a little uncomfortable, like that I shouldn't be asking such things.
Right.
But with this new relationship, I think he felt like he would give me a free pass to answer at least 1 or 2 questions, but kind of let me know that I can't be doing this.
Now,
all
did you
year
share
long.
All this advice he gave you with all the other guys?
I don't recall sharing.
You don't recall?
Well, I'll tell you what happened with me. The dude, I set up my account and I just gave him a peek, oh yeah, it's really great. And he looked and he gave me really?
Yeah.
Okay. To some of my picks, so I was less than enthused about that. Really, this guy? Okay, whatever you think.
Well, maybe Todd had some problems with all that lotion on his mouse pad. Probably had some problems pointing to the right player. All right. Coming up, for the moment we've all been waiting for is here. The Danettes are going to draft their players. But if I'm doing a fantasy truck draft, I'm taking the Ram 1500 Eco Diesel numero uno. This boy can climb a hill, haul a trailer, and score the winning touchdown, and do it fuel efficiently. Get more facts at ramtrucks.com. God's glory, Ram. Welcome back to the Box Scores FanDuel Draft Day. The guys are all signed up and ready to assemble their teams on FanDuel.com. And now it's time for them to reveal their picks and give us a full roster breakdown. McLovin, start us off. Tell the folks who you are taking and why.
Okay, how much of the roster do you want to hear, Brock? Want to go over the whole team real quick?
Whole team, baby.
All right, quarterback Tony Romo, Dallas against New York. Romo owned the Giants last year. I have some stats here if you guys will permit me. 7 TDs and 1 interception last year against New York. Romo at 8,700. I felt good. I spent heavy there, but it's worth it. Running back. We all love Jeremy Hill. I feel like I jumped on him early. I think he's going to end up being the 2nd or 3rd best running back in the NFL this year, fantasy-wise. Okay, here's where I admit I picked with my heart and not my head. I picked Lions running back Amir Abdullah, rookie out of Nebraska. Now, there has been some reports that he's 3rd string on the depth chart. Now, that's not a great thing. I know what you're saying, but I see a 3rd down back role at least. He was a huge bargain. I don't think he's going to be a huge bargain moving forward. Wide receivers, Julio Jones against Philly, speaks for itself. Jordan Matthews. I was so jealous of another person here who picked Sam Bradford in my mind that I had to get in on that Philly offense. Then I took Jarvis Landry out of Miami. Still a bargain. Second-year wide receiver. He's definitely going to go up in price. Tight end, sticking Cincy. Andy Dalton throwing the ball. He can't be too bad. Tyler Eifert. Kicker, Mike Nugent. Andy Dalton throwing the ball. Can't get in the end zone. Mike Nugent, lots of field goals. And defense, my Kansas City Chiefs going against the Texans. Brian Hoyer.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I like it.
Oh, my lands, that is an incredible lineup. Seton, what do you have to match such mastery of fantasy football?
All right, so with my quarterback, I tried to go a little bit more of a value pick here. I went with Ryan Tannehill of the Dolphins. Everything I read says this is going to be a breakout year for him, and he's opening up against the Redskins, who don't have a very great defense and really didn't do that much to improve it. So I like his chances there. Eddie Lacy at running back is pretty much a sure thing, especially opening up against the Bears. No offense, Paulie. I like him putting up monster numbers. A little bit of a sleeper pick here with the my second running back, Ronnie Hillman. You've got Denver. Baltimore at Denver. It's a sleeper pick, but Gary Kubiak said that he expects him to have a big year and do great things. So I like, all right, he might do something there. AJ Green opening up against the Raiders. I like him. Golden Tate. The Lions pass as much as anybody in the league, and I like him as sort of a second option.
Notre Dame bias? Notre Dame bias?
Maybe a little bit more of a double-team Calvin Johnson bias.
Okay.
Right? Somebody's going to be open. I think it'll be him. I've got my other wide receiver, Andre Johnson. I like him new to the Colts. They've got something to prove this year. Andrew Luck, I could see him going there often. My tight end, Greg Olsen, who seems to have a touchdown in pretty much every game. And especially he'll be a good target for Cam Newton against a really crappy Jaguars team. And my kicker, Matt Prater, a little mean-spirited. I feel like Stafford, a little bit of a 90 yards to kick a field goal guy. He might have a bunch of field goals. And then my D is the Seahawks, which pretty much speaks for itself. Especially against the Rams, who don't have any offense. So.
All right, I can think of only one man to top a lineup like that. It's Todd Fritz.
I've got Cam Newton as my quarterback. I initially was going to go Aaron Rodgers or even Drew Brees, but then as I was making my other picks and sticking to the $60,000 budget, I all of a sudden had to make some major changes to the top of the lineup.
Probably should have stuck with your initial thought, but go ahead.
So I went Cam Newton against, as Seton said, what we expect to be a weak Jaguar defense to hopefully light things up. Jamal Charles, my first of three running backs, Chiefs at the Texans. DeMarco Murray I went with. He's got something to prove after the Cowboys kicked him to the curb for the Eagles at the Falcons. I like Amari Cooper. I got good feelings about him coming out of Alabama to light up the Cincinnati Bengals at Cincy. Went Marcus Colston and Mike Wallace as my second and third wide receivers. Those were two that I don't feel very strongly about, but based on the budget and some of the other picks I made, I think that those were some of the better ones that were available to, again, stay within the budget. Jason Witten, I think, is always huge, always one of Romo's favorite targets against the Giants. Justin Tucker for the Ravens to kick against my Broncos at Mile High Sunday. And sticking with that theme, Broncos defense will hopefully be all over Joe Flacco and the Ravens. And that's
Orange
for
Crush.
week one.
All right, last
Charles
but not
Murray.
least, the meanest Danette. Let's see if he has the meanest lineup. Paulie, who's on your squad?
Yeah, I went Sam Bradford early. He was quite the bargain. The Eagles are going to score a lot of points, and he is technically the quarterback. So, I mean, he's on the cheap right now. If this were a season-long league, I wouldn't touch Sam Bradford. He would be my backup quarterback.
But week one?
Week
Is this how
one.
easy gonna get?
Yeah, if he gets hurt in the first quarter, I'm done this week. I went a real risk here with Darren McFadden of the Cowboys as my running back. Cowboys have a fantastic offensive line, and someone has to get yards and touchdowns for that team. I think they're going to give Darren McFadden a chance. He's healthy now. He might not be healthy in Week 8, but I'm not picking him in Week 8. Adrian Peterson, sure thing. That's where I spent my money. Saved a little money with Jordan Matthews of the Eagles. Again, he's going to get the ball a lot. Golden Tate, one of Seton's picks, going to get the ball a truckload, I think, this year. Brandon Cooks is ready to go, wide receiver for the Saints. They pass a lot. He'll get at least 7 catches this week. Same with Seton. Greg Olsen, he always gets targeted a lot, and they've got less wide receivers than ever down there with Kelvin Benjamin out. Greg Olsen, I think, is going to have 90 catches. Nick Folk, kicker, fastest name I could write down, so I went Nick Folk. I went with the Tampa defense because they're going against a rookie quarterback. Now, they have a rookie quarterback, but they're going against a rookie quarterback.
That's good.
One of my things I almost always do with fantasy football is pick a defense going against a shaky quarterback. And while Mariota may have had a good preseason, this is the regular season, I expect him to give at least one up.
Fantastic. All right, we don't have the boss's picks for week 1. He's off getting himself ready for football night in America, but he did tell us he will submit them before kickoff tonight. So if you want to play a 1 week fantasy football against Dan and the Danettes, just go to and enter the promo code Patrick for a 100% deposit match up to $200 on new accounts. $5 to enter, and winners get instant cash as soon as the contest ends. You don't need to wait all year. That's FanDuel, the leader in one-day fantasy sports. All right, stick around. We asked the fans out there if they had a few questions for the guys, and they'll give you their recommendations next. We are back here on the Box Score FanDuel Draft Day show. Now, it is day 1 of fantasy football draft, and already we have problems. Paulie, what seems to be the issue out there?
You know, I hate to do this, but I'm going to file an official complaint. Dan Patrick's lineup is not in. This is the show. The lineups are supposed to be in. He's a member of the team like anybody else. He's just because he's the boss doesn't mean
in advance.
This whole I'm out of the office thing. Come on.
He's at the home opener. What's going to happen now? Here's what I predict what's going to happen. All of a sudden tonight, Shane Vereen's going to have 3 touchdowns and 130 yards. Oh, Shane Vereen's on my team. Hey, D'Angelo Williams saw him as a value pick. 125 yards and a touchdown.
It's unacceptable.
I guarantee that whoever is a big start from tonight or this weekend or something, they'll be on Dan's team. He has to turn it in. And it has to be revealed on the show.
And it's going to be somebody that came out of nowhere, where you're like, "Whoa, how did you know that, Dan? That's amazing."
Jimmy Lipper, 3 touchdown catches.
You knew Jimmy Lipper was going to get 7 touchdowns this week? How did you know that? Hey, I called it.
Unacceptable.
I love it. Controversy already. We were worried about McLovin in the first half. Oh, come on. We're worried about Dan. Okay. Well, if we know that you good folks of Dan Nation have some questions and want to get some things ironed out prior to the kickoff, so we went to the Twitter machine and got a couple of inquiries. Our first is from Dave. He is asking, who are the top 5 players that should be drafted? McLovin, can you help him out?
Well, I mean, the truth is you're not going to be able to afford them all. But we've been talking about when we started this, we're like, who are we spending big money on?
How about the sure thing at each position?
Yeah,
that you have no doubts about.
Well, obviously, quarterback is Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Did anybody go Rodgers? This is what you said you were thinking about it.
It's very expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive. Running back, that's a debate between Jamal Charles, Adrian Peterson, Le'Veon Bell when he comes back. Eddie Lacy.
Yeah, Eddie Lacy.
Who you went Lacy?
It's almost like there's 3 or 4 at running.
Yeah, I mean, Le'Veon Bell might be the number 1, but he's not playing.
You don't put Peterson ahead of everybody?
No, I put Bell ahead because he catches the ball, but it's close.
But
that's my opinion.
Wise, you have to go big money and at least one position like that, one key spot, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Less than your risk. And tight end is Gronk, or is there anyone else?
Oh, it's Gronk in the world. Wide receiver, it's interesting. Antonio Brown, who plays tonight. I've seen he was worth a lot. To me, that's a surefire. Do you guys like any receiver better?
It's funny because Antonio Brown is not as much of a household name, but for production, he's the best guy.
Yeah, exactly.
People probably think that Calvin Johnson is better wide receiver.
and Dez, who, by the way, are both sensational.
Yeah.
They're right
What
there.
about with Season's pick, Andre Johnson, and what he's got something to prove, and he's got Andrew Luck. You got Johnson?
No, I mean that's great. I mean, if you want to have a 39-year, if you want to have a guy who is on Geritol at receiver, that's great.
I feel like he's still 24.
He's still in really good shape. I don't see him as this old guy that's just about to be.
So is this going to be? You have to go big at one position, right? But it's sort of going to be won or lost on the other, where you get lucky in a sleeper. Like if Melvin Gordon goes off, like everybody says he might, then that's where you're really going to get.
That's my strategy in this. Like when I look at my team, I say okay, well, I would assume Jordan Matthews and Golden Tate are going to have nice weeks unless they get injured. But if Darren McFadden goes for 120 and a touchdown, I feel like I'm going to win my this week.
Probably.
All right, next up we have a bit of a who you got. We got hit up by both Kevin and another David who asked the simple question, Romo or Brady? Seton, what do you think in this situation?
Oh, boy. Well, I feel like it isn't as much a head and a heart thing here because clearly one of them has my heart.
Coin toss,
I guess it is a little bit.
McLovin had a good stat, though, about what Romo does to the Giants.
Romo owns the Giants, but Brady owns the Steelers.
Yeah.
And the Steelers have no, as Ross Tucker said, hosting the show today, the Steelers have no cornerbacks. And I was thinking, when he was talking about that, I'm like, wow, Brady seems like a good play. That's tough.
I'd be surprised if the Patriots don't have 38 points tonight.
Yeah, me too. But would you be surprised? What do you think if you had to predict Cowboys-Giants? Same thing?
Cowboys, I think, are going to try to. I think they're going to try to run the ball more, but
You're sounding a little
Patriots
Fritzy-esque here.
Yeah, I don't think the Patriots are going to even try to.
No,
run
but it also sounds like from like this writer's columnist, former players or people that know Brady, that he's on this manic mission. He's going to destroy everyone. Watch out for Brady.
Yeah, he's going to try harder this year.
That's what they say every year, though. Like, he's really focused because it's about legacy. That even happened before all of this stuff where he needs to get.
I'd hate to be the defense going up.
So now he's going to throw the ball harder or more accurate.
He's going to be more accurate.
Somehow
He's actually going to, you know what?
take it to an even
I'm
another
going to try a
level.
little harder.
Darn it, I'm really going to try to win this year, as opposed to last year when he won.
I totally buy it. I totally buy that.
Some expert advice right there. And remember to tweet us at The Box Score Show with the hashtag DanDuel if you have any questions for the Danettes. All right, don't go away. The DanDuel isn't just about selecting a player or two. We have some specific challenges we're going to issue throughout the year. But first, we're going to take a break and remind you that the Ram Heavy Duty, with its best-in-class towing, torque, and horsepower, doesn't need one. Guts, glory, Ram. Oh, we are closing up shop here on the Box Score FanDuel Draft Day. If you haven't heard, that's right, you can also take on Dan and the Danettes in weekly fantasy football. Just go to FanDuel.com/Patrick and enter the promo code Patrick for a 100% deposit match up to $200 on new accounts. $5 to enter, and winners get instant cash as soon as the contest ends. Now, this league comes with special challenges each week. McLovin, explain the challenge for the fans in week 1.
All right, we start off simple. Your quarterback this week has to have 4 letters or less in his name. Tom Brady. First name, right. Tom Brady, fine. We're not going with long names, Thomas. Matt Ryan, no one picked him, would have been fine.
Russell Wilson.
Cam Newton, fine. Russell Wilson, out.
Brian
Sorry, Paulie. Brian Hoyer, definitely
His good
no.
friends call him Russ.
Yes.
I'm not one of them.
Josh McCown would have fit, but I wouldn't take him. So next week we'll have even more. Every week we're going to be picking a special theme to narrow it down, give it a little flavor.
I'm really excited about week 6, white tailback week. Every one of us has to have a white starting NFL halfback on the team.
Gerhardt.
That is going to be a battle. You know, I mean, Zach Zenner, he's my boy. Need a couple injuries, get Zach Zenner.
That's going to be your value pick, though, too. That's a bar. You save some dough on
That's
that.
going to be a nightmare.
Well, I love white tailbacks. Seton, what are some other challenges that may be issued throughout the year?
We're looking at maybe your quarterback has to have an odd number on their jersey or an even number. Maybe quarterback has to be from the state of Texas.
We had one today, somebody, a quarterback or a running back who recovered from an ACL. That's a really interesting one.
Oh,
Someone said
snap,
that.
How about you have to have a player who was a Heisman finalist that was invited to New York?
Love it.
Oh, that's great. That's a
You
good
know,
one.
because it could be Peyton Manning was invited to New York. He didn't win, though.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Tight end from the Big Sky Conference.
Yeah, Big Sky tight ends, Montana State.
A whole list of those, pal.
Well, maybe they're on the Dan Patrick Show tomorrow. Fritzy, have you booked anyone like that?
No, but we love Tony Dungy, who's going to lead us off tomorrow.
Anthony Bartholomew.
Anthony Bartholomew.
Tony, by the way,
Dungy III.
played a little quarterback at Minnesota, and his name, Tony, is
That
4
would fit.
letters.
So you could be able to start him at quarterback this week. So yeah, he'll recap the festivities, as will Dan, since he's there, on what went down in the Patriots-Steelers game, and that's what we're looking at so far for Friday.
All right. Thanks for watching the Box Score FanDuel Draft Show. You can watch the Danettes make their selections every Thursday right here on the Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Catch the podcast available on iTunes or at podcast1.com. I broke that.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer. My motto is simple: C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Hey, thanks for watching the Box Score. Holy cow!